Hi, welcome back. My name is Victoria and I am so glad that you are here at Victoria's Little Peanut Nursery. Today we are going to be working on this Maddie kit and I'm going to be introducing the Espresso Skintone to you guys. In a previous series we did the Americano Skintone series and I actually gave you that card for free. In this particular series I am giving you or offering you a discount if you'd like to follow along with the Skintone card. So what you'll do is you'll go to my website victoriaslittlepeanutnursery.com and you'll be able to use the coupon code that's also in the description for you to receive $5 off of the card. So with that being said, let's jump right into the Espresso Skintone series. For your best outcome, be sure that you neutralize your kit and wash your kit if you choose to before beginning this tutorial. All colors can be found on the Espresso Skintone recipe card located on the website. And lastly, unless noted, I am not affiliated at the time of this recording with any of the companies where I actually suggest their products. So please shop at your own discretion. In addition to the colors that you'll find on the Skintone card, we'll also need an authentic Reborn doll kit. Today I'm using Maddie. We'll need a limb holder, which is a mug holder that I purchased from Home Goods a while back, a cooling fan. Gloves are optional if you'd like to use those as you paint. And then we'll also need a palette knife, different types of brushes, modeling sponges, cosmetic wedges to pounce, a clear bowl and a clear tray, thinning oil or a thinning medium, a thinning solvent. Let's do a detailed breakdown of the brushes so you can really understand why we need each brush. This brush is to get down into the creases of the kit and to do any type of veining or capillaries or anything of that sort if we choose to do so. We'll also need a shader brush. This will take care of a larger surface area, whereas this particular shading brush here will get into those tighter spaces or an area that is not as large as another. And then we'll also need a mop brush of some sort. Okay, so this is essentially everything that you'll need. Of course, you'll need the colors in order to complete the Espresso Skintone series. So guys, I am excited to be doing this again with you. So let's go ahead and dive right into mixing our colors. So I have my pigment on the end of my palette knife, and I'm going to just take it and scrape it across the inside of my bowl and just work out any of the clumps against the side of the bowl here. And scrape off any remaining pigment and just make sure that I'm really working all of those lumps through, because if I can go ahead and work this stuff out in the beginning, I won't really have to worry about it when it's time for mixing, whenever I add in the solvent. I'm going to be adding Gamsol because I want to thin this down just a little bit. I don't necessarily want a real wash consistency, and I don't want a shading consistency either. So I'm just going to take this, kind of rinse off my palette knife, if you will, so that I can get any remaining pigment off of there that I possibly can. Put that to the side. And take my shading brush and bring down the paint from the side of the bowl into the thinning, into the Gamsol. And if possible, always start out with less than what you need, because as you can see here, I don't have enough pigment, because remember, I don't want a wash consistency and I don't want a shading mixture either. But I want enough to where I have some pigment, have enough pigment in my bowl where it can take some effect on the beginning process, on the beginning layers of the kit. Now, just so you know, for full transparency, I actually started on this kit already. And unfortunately for me, but fortunately for you guys, I had to strip her because I didn't like the direction that she was going in. So I said, you know what, let me just go ahead and bring this to the channel so that you guys could see the process and also learn another skin tone in the process. So with that being said, I did strip her. I put her through the dishwasher to try and make sure that she was clean as a whistle, but you may see some leftover paint that I wasn't able to get off 100%. So just in case you're wondering as we paint the kit. So if you take a look at the bowl, you can see that you see a lot more pigment. It's definitely more pigmented. We cannot see through the bottom, and that's how I'd like for it to be. If I could see through the bottom, then that means it would be a wash consistency and therefore making it entirely too transparent for what we're trying to achieve. Mom wants an older appearance. If we were going for a newborn, then we'd definitely make sure we could see through the bottom of the bowl. So the first thing we're going to start with is the head. I always like to start off with the head of the kit. And just for the tutorial, I'm only going to be doing a head, one arm, and one leg on camera. So I'm just going to start with the back of the head just to ensure that the color I want is correct, and it is. Like I said, just making sure that you can see through, that you cannot see through the bottom of the bowl. That's normally an indication that you have the right consistency. And you want to make sure whenever you're using the skin tone card that your swatch, if you were to take your brush and dab it into your mixture and put it on the paper towel, you want to make sure that this swatch matches that swatch that you see in the first block on the skin tone card. But we are applying this over the entirety of the head. This is like our foundational layer, and we just want to make sure that we can completely cover the entire kit in this. And we're going to do this layer 2 times. But we are dividing the head. Really getting all over the kit. This particular layer can be a little messy. We're not being as careful with where we're putting this paint because these are foundational layers just starting off our process. So let's take our mop brush and go into those creases and take out any excess paint that we may find. So you always want to go behind the ear, into the ear, into those little crevices where paint can hide. Because the last thing we want to have is packed creases with excess paint. So taking our sponge, we're going to start pouncing off. And you'll notice, if depending on which tutorial you're watching, I like to offer a variety of applications so that you can find which one works best for you. Sometimes I will take off or tear off the top of this sponge layer just to provide more texture and pattern onto the Reborn doll kit. So that's completely up to you. This one is going to be very basic for the beginner learner. Not trying to show you too many of shortcuts or things that I do in particular, because I want you to be able to find your own way as you begin to paint. That's always my end goal, for you to find your own way and your own style. Now that we have completely gone over the back of the kit, let's go ahead and go into the face. Really working our way around the eyes, into the fine lines, in the nostrils, and yes, even over the lips, because we want to capture the skin tone in the lips as well. But we won't do that for every layer. All right, take our mop brush and go back into those creases, getting out any excess paint. Anywhere paint could possibly go and puddle or create a puddle, and then create problems for us later. We want to get into it with that mop brush. Every so often, I am taking my wedge and dabbing it onto the paper towel just to get off any excess. It's kind of like wringing out a mop, if you would. I'm just dabbing it onto the paper towel so that my wedge can stay as dry as I possibly can as I paint. Okay, so I am going to take the head, take a look at it, make sure I have pounced off all the excess paint. Also making sure I don't have any fingerprints or any of that on the kit. Making sure nothing has pulled in an area that I have not pounced. And everything looks pretty good. So I'm going to set it to the side and let it flash off. Flash off meaning I'm going to let it air dry before I put it into the oven to bake. Because if I were to put this into the oven and it fell over or something onto the hand towel that's at the bottom of my oven, it could possibly smudge. But if it's air dried, you typically don't have any issues. So let's put this to the side so that it can air dry. I always recommend starting with the hand of the kit because it just makes it a lot easier for you to hold and to manage. So I am taking this layer and putting it over the nails, over the entire palm of the hand. Like I said, I'm laying this layer all over the kit, not avoiding any areas at all. Dragging my brush to get off excess paint, and then coming down a little bit on the wrist area. And before I go on, I'm going to put my brush down, grab my mop brush, go into those creases, get out any excess paint. And even if you can't see it with the naked eye, it may be there and you won't be able to see that puddle until you've gotten a few layers in, and by then it's too late. So you always want to make sure that you don't skip going in and getting out excess paint. You don't want to skip this step. It's very important. Let's get our cosmetic wedge. And always use this edge part right here to get into those creases to help soak up any paint so that you can have as smooth a texture as possible, or as smooth a surface as possible. You also want to dab that off in the paper towel like we did the surface of the wedge. All right, now holding the inside of the limb. And this is what I mean about starting with the hand first. It makes it a lot easier to manage painting if you start from the hand up. If you were to paint this entire limb on its own, it makes it really hard, and then your hand is in areas that's going to get smudged. It just makes it a little bit more difficult for you to manage. Oops, look at me. Forgot to go in those creases and get the excess paint out. Let's go up to the shoulder. Using our mop brush again to go into those creases. Let's pounce this area out here. And we are going to look over this to make sure we don't have any smudges or any pools of paint anywhere. And if we're good, we can go ahead and set it on the limb holder to let it air dry. So just as we've begun with the hand on the arm, we're gonna go ahead and start with the bottom of the foot. Working it into every single crease on the side of the foot, top of the toes, the toenails. I'm going to take my mop brush and go in and remove any excess paint. Let's work our way up to the knee. And again, remove any excess paint from the creases. And let's pounce. Now let's finish the rest of the limb. See that smudge I had on there? I removed it actually too fast out of habit, but I'll try and purposefully do it. But you can see the smudges I have here, which is why it's so important for us to let this air dry and completely flash off. Like you see the liquid, the shininess that's on it. Let all of this flash off before we put it into the oven, because we don't want these smudges that you can see. I'm trying to make it a little bit more visible, but there are some smudges right here in this area from my gloves. I want to make sure I don't have that issue with when the kit goes into the oven. So we're going to let this hang on the limb holder and flash off in front of that fan. And once it flashes off, we're going to bake those pieces into the oven at 265 for about 8 to 9 minutes or so, and then we'll let it cool off in front of the fan, and we'll continue on with the next layer. So we're only going to do 2 layers of this mixture, only 2 layers of this mixture, and we'll see what the end goal should be once we finish the second layer. So stay tuned to see where your kit should end up after you're done with the second layer. If you have completed your second layer of block 1 on the Espresso Skintone recipe card, you have successfully achieved your undertones for this complexion. In the next upload, we'll be going over the underpainting as well as starting the second block of this recipe card.